Am I live? Perhaps, possibly. How we doing? Sending data, streaming. Is Twitch gonna be mad at me? I'm gonna make some adjustments in real time here. First, before we do, I am live. Okay, cool, good. And where? What does it have me playing? It says I'm playing the Coma recut. Let's not, let's change that. Am I actually? Yeah, I'm transmitting. I'm transmitting. Do we have the chat up here? We have the chat. Sick. Does anyone know how you change the game you're playing on Twitch? Does anyone know? Edit stream info right here. Playing TTRP, no, tabletop RPGs. Bada bing, bada boom. And you might say, why bother streaming on Twitch? You go to YouTube. But I think a lot of people just go on Twitch, you know? A lot of people just go into Dungeons and Dragons, but I always wanted to do some solo stuff on Twitch, and what we're doing today, for anyone who has showed up, hello, thank you. What we're doing today is I do a playtest every Sunday, every week on Sunday in my system. Normally, it's an open playtest. I invite people, I find people to play the game. This week, I've been so distracted making that video and then, you know, follow up. In the end, I was like, I don't have time for this shit. But I still need to run a session. That's my commitment, is I will always run a session, no matter what, even if it's zero prep. So, I'm just going to do a solo game, because I already have this campaign set up with my character, kind of. I'm going to need to remake the sheet here. This don't look good, does it? Let's hide the little side stats there. We don't really like to look at those on the sheet, but we will be doing some of that while I make the character, or I import them. I had previously made the character in Crossguard, but the game has changed since then. I've got a much better character sheet here on Google Sheets, so I'm going to remake it. I'm probably also going to make him more powerful, because I don't want him to die. I'm playing a solo game, and there may be combat here. I'm going into a dangerous situation. The last time I played last time I played this campaign was a while back, months and months and months ago. But it is ready to go, sort of. And I'm going to do it live. We are all doing it live, including setting up the fucking OBS setup. See, I don't seem to be live on YouTube. That's a pain. What? Coffee stream bot. So, is that me? It says someone donated 10. Thank you. Thank you. If someone just donated, thank you. That's I did not expect that. Thank you. Let's see, coffee. Fucking email login. This is the shit, you know? This is 2025. Of course I can't just log in. I'm sorry, guys. I am not a professional. I do not know what I'm doing with streaming. The last time I streamed was like 6 months ago. There we go. Someone donated $10. Thank you. That's really awesome. Thank you. That's gonna buy me at least one Greg's pasty, which I am eating because I haven't eaten all day. And I'm like, I haven't really, like the last few days, I don't know, since the video went up, I've just not been eating well. I don't know why, my stomach's just like a fist. So I've just been picking at food. And I need to eat something, so I will be picking at this pasty. Let's see, let's say anything in the chat. Yeah, I don't think I'm... Oh, I am live. Cool. Good. It's working. All right. Let's get this underway then. We're going to set up in real time. Let's make these windows. How's everyone doing today? We're going to crop all of this useless stuff out. There we go. More. More. Bit more. And I think that's enough. We're going to crop out some of the left. Is that too much? I got so many fucking windows. I need another monitor for shit. Problem is I've already filled up the fucking desk. All right. So we've got our sheet. That's number one. And again, we're going to have to configure this in real time because I am bad at the game. We got our character sheet, Magnus Metal. Next up, we need a little bit of rules reference. Okay. At the one. All right. We have our rules reference. Good, good. And this isn't like, I said at the end of that last video I just uploaded that I'm going to be talking about Crossguard soon. This isn't that. This is just the weekly obligation that I have committed myself to. But I actually wrote a little bit for a script that might go up like Monday, Wednesday, sometime around then. But I just, you know, I wanted to say thank you to people because it's been insane. It's gone to the point I really tried to keep up with the comments for the first like day or two. And then I was like, I can't make this my life. I can't make responding to comments my life. I got real work to do. You know, I still got to get on with making the game. And, you know, I still want to make follow-up videos. So I just had to be like, nah. Yesterday I was just like, nah, everything's off. Social media off. YouTube off. I gotta prioritize. And I just worked and I just wrote that script that I just read out. And I wrote out a little like rules explanation for this game. But I'm fucking rambling, so let's do some cropping. Where are we at? Let's go 350. And I'm going to have all this up in front of me while I play. Cool. Why is it not showing up now? Is it because I've minimized it? That would be why. Cool. This needs to be cropped. Good. Checking the chat to make sure I'm not just ignoring some shit. Nope, we're good. I think whoever donated probably, I don't think it was like part of my stream. I think it was just like someone who saw the video and found the link. So you probably won't see this, but thank you, whoever you are. Okay. Last thing. What was it? Sheet. Final thing is I need my notes for the session. This is going to be pure improv. So this should be fun. All right. Let's. Hello, Ryan. Where is his name? I do, Ryan, I do. It's not like 100% like the game is fucking like ready to launch. But the game is like it's like 90% done. I say this, I said 90% done in like fucking January this year. But it's pretty fucking playable. I had the playtest last week, and people seem to really have a lot of fun with that. I've got a couple videos in mind where I want to talk about things that don't just relate to this game, but relate to like what I do in this game and what I've done, what I did in that session that like you can apply to any game. So like devil's bargains and little things like that. So I'm going to talk about some of that stuff in times to come. But what am I doing? Session. I'm so ADHD, man. How do I rename? There we are. So we've got sheet. We've got core rules. Awesome, man. Is it more like a crunchy game or a bit more narrative? Looking for an obsidian. And then we've got, no, that's not it. The other obsidian. Is that it? No. It looks like it is, but it's the wrong thing. It's the wrong window. That's my old session notes. No. I might have to just do it like this, honestly. I might have to bring these notes together with my old notes. So I've got a pop-out window I've been trying to do this with, but it's giving me shit. Let's just have... We're going to make it live. We're going to make it live. Customization is cool. I'm big into like GURPS as a concept, but in practice, there's so much complexity that slows down sessions. So part of the goal of my system has been I want to make something like GURPS that's kind of generic, flexible, can handle multiple systems, but playable by humans. Have a good one, man. Enjoy the campaign. And thank you for dropping in. All right. We are mostly done. And I'm going to play this at some point. But we're gonna learn some skills about total fucking improv. Let's just crop. There we go. Cool. This again is not like what I'm actually playing today. This is just old notes. Let's make that bigger there. Good sheet up here. Make this any bigger. That'll do. That'll do. All right. How many people we got watching here? On YouTube, we have bigger. 2 people, and on Twitch, we have. I don't fucking know. How does Twitch work? I don't know. Doesn't matter. I don't particularly care anyway. This is mostly my personal obligation. So anyone from my Discord can watch this and sort of get the weekly dose of Crossguard. And it's mostly for me to, you know, practice playing sessions just in pure improv. And as part of that, I have a tool. I have some tools that I will be using. Now, I've got the fantastic Game Master cards. I'm just going to get this shit out of the way. Let's fuck it, like. I've got special Game Master cards that give you like smells and tastes and help you sort of do improv stuff. But recently this year, I discovered a new hobby. And that is playing with these motherfuckers right here. These are nice, shiny, plasticky tarot cards that are really nice and tactile. I'm not a believer in mysticism. However, these are just really fun to play with, and they're just a fantastic improvisational tool. It's like they're an interesting way to like form associations and brainstorm and sort of just have like fun with that sort of thing. So I got like obsessed with tarot cards for a few weeks there this year, and I've been using them as part of improv for games, and it's really fun to use them that way. And I got my dice, my 2d10s. We have green for me, and sort of transparent gray for the bad guys. And the way it works in Crossguard is every check is going to be 1 positive die. That's us. That represents our character, how well they're doing at this particular moment in time. And then we have the difficulty die, which represents the things outside of their control. And to give an example, say you're a director You do really well. You roll a 10 on this die. You make the best fucking film ever made. You make The Shining. You're Stanley Kubrick. And then this die lands on a fucking 1 or 2 or 3 because the critics really thought The Shining was a shit film and they panned that shit. You can't control the outside factors. That's what this dice is. And we use that for narrative purposes. In the same way in Daggerheart, you can interpret those hope and fear things as like, you know, success but, failure but. This is kind of like that in terms of like, if I succeed a roll because I rolled high on my dice, that's because I did really well. But it might be that the opponent also rolls really high and I fail. And it's like those moments in life where you're like, I did really well. It's like outcome independence. I did the best I possibly could. You can't control what the rest of the world is going to do, how they're going to react. So in the situation, maybe I swing a sword at someone and that's a fucking clean swing, man. That is clean. But the other guy is also really good. It's two people at the top of their game. And it's not like necessary to play the system or anything like that. It's just one of those little background details that, for me, kind of adds a bit of fun to the way we can interpret narrative in the game. But yeah, you roll 2 dice. Basically, one of them's positive, one of them's negative. So it's a d10 minus a d10. So the results on the 2 dice, it ranges from a -9 to a +9. And that dice result basically modifies your score, your 2 from strength or whatever it is. So the cool part about this, what that means is, if the difficulty of a task is say 10, and my character skill for this particular task is a 10, I know that it's like a fair challenge for me. It's equal odds. Is an equal chance of success. So it's really easy to set DCs. If you're like, GM and you want to sort of set them based on the player's own skill or the player character's own skill, you can be like, okay, these guys are like really good at hacking. So I want to make a computer that's really hard to hack. So I'm going to give him an equal challenge. And because choices are fun, because I think choices are the core of RPGs, there are ways to manipulate the odds of that roll, which we'll get into later. But let's get into the fiction. So, right. What happened last time in my Ironsworn game that I've been playing in Crossguard? Let's actually find that out in a minute, because I do need to set up my stat sheet here. Let's see. Righty-ho. Oh, I just fucking closed the restream window, god damn it. Do we have any sheets referring to a man by the name of Magnus Metal? And yes, it is a silly name, because this is kind of, it's meant to be almost a little bit pulpy campaign. We've lost our thing here. There we are. Right, let's find Magnus. The last sheet I made for this motherfucker. Can I open another window? No. God damn it. All right. Where's me Ironsworn? Starforged. We've got Magnus Metal sheet here. This is how I used to be running things. And when did I do this session? Doesn't say. This was a long time ago this year. Let's see if I've got my notes. in my diary. I've been quite on board with the Obsidian train. And I journal, I take notes for like everything. You got it when you've got ADHD. Starforged. Nope, no notes about it here. So I have no fucking idea when I last played this. But let's go through our character sheet. And like I said, I think I'm going to make him a little bit stronger in this version. This version of the game is also a lot simpler to build characters in. I'm going to keep the guns, all the items and things like that the exact same. Where's my chat gone? Here we are. Okay. Yeah, if anyone said anything in the chat in the last like few minutes, I will have missed it because I accidentally closed my restream window. So sorry if you did. You will have to repeat yourself. Okay. Right. I'm going to bring up my rules here. We've got our rules reference. However, we also have our entire fucking book. Okay, so we're looking at character creation here. Let's look at growth over here. Unfortunately, in the process of translating from Obsidian to GitHub, some of the like headings and things and the line breaks seem to have broken. So that is something I will have to fix. Obviously, it's in kind of closed beta right now. Oh, thank you very much, Jay. I try not to be like too mean, but also I don't want to mince words, and I felt quite strongly about it. You know? And that's the thing. It's like, I like Critical Role. I think they're probably like really lovely people. I don't know. I don't know them, but that like, if someone I like makes something that like is bad, yeah, I'm not going to mince words. You know, I gotta like, even if I like them, that might be even more of a reason to be, you know, kindly, bluntly honest with them as much as I can. I can't say the same thing about all of the like Critical Role fandom. I'm not always fully down, like, you know, fandoms be fandoms, but yeah. Right. So, I believe before I made Magnus as a journeyman, a what is now called a level 4. I've put levels into the game for convenience here. They were always in the game, but I've actually fucking labeled them. And it's just kind of panned out that way. Even though this game is a lot more of a like points buildy kind of system, you do have tiers which limit the like how high your character aptitudes can get. And the idea behind that is kind of like it's just unrealistic for a person to just put all their points into one thing. Because even if you spend your entire like childhood and adolescence training with the blade, chances are like along the way you're going to pick up some other skills. You know, in that case you might pick up discipline and perseverance, if nothing else. And chances are when you go away from learning a skill and then come back to it later in your life, you're going to have other lessons that you'll be able to like, you know, you'll be able to recontextualize all the sword training of your childhood through the new lessons you've learned. And that's kind of what level represents here in this system. Is that it's like, it's the cap on how high your stats and skills and niches, your aptitudes can get. But it doesn't determine where you put your points. You can still like choose to put your points wherever you want in any stat or skill or niche. So it is a point buy system kind of thing. Right. So Magnus. Also, I've changed the stat system. It used to be like 4 is the baseline. Now 0 is the baseline, because that just makes sense. 0 is the average for an average human. Minus Maximus, what is the point of my game? It is meant to be a choice-driven game with interesting outcomes, and it's meant to be fast and flexible, and it's meant to be immersive. That is the goal of the game. And that's the kind of, yeah, the goal of the system design, I guess. If you saw my my review on Daggerheart, that kind of outlines what I like in TTRPGs. So it's all that stuff, you know. That's my manifesto about what RPGs should be, in my opinion. Okay, let's get Magnus up here. This is our sheet. Make this bigger. Let's see. We probably should make this a bit smaller so we can fit it all on. Yeah, this needs to be a lot smaller. I'm doing this all in real time, guys. Like I said at the start, but probably people weren't here, didn't hear. This is not like to do with my Daggerheart video or anything. This is not anything to do with that. I just run a weekly game on Sundays, and normally it's an open session. Like, I invite people, I play test the game. But this week, because I kind of got so distracted with editing for this video, and then like the follow-up stuff, there's been so many comments, I didn't end up running it. I was like, it's too late this week. I don't want to like put out an advert on Saturday for a session and try to recruit people, especially because I'd have to then prep that session, and I've been like flat out. So I'm just doing basically a full improv solo session today, and I'm continuing my game that's set in the world I built for Ironsworn Starforged in that campaign, but I have been playing it in Crossguard, my own system. Actually, Crossguard actually started a day. I was like, I just want to play like a solo RPG thing. I want to play my Ironsworn Starforged game, but I think I can improve on the system a little. I think there's some things I can do. That's what I was like, I just got to throw something together in like an afternoon. I just got to throw a few little rules together, just a few little rules, and it got out of hand. And 3 years later, this is where I am. Being forced by my own hubris to make games. Because I am that arrogant that I think I can make a good one. Right. I don't know why this window is being so fuckerty. Okay, zoom. That's... edit. And so, yeah, like I'm just doing a pure improv thing today, and that includes setting up the session. This is going to be like playing with generative stuff, using my tarot to generate results, because that's fun. And I have no fucking idea where the story is going to go today. Last I left off, I kind of did a little prologue to the story, and then we're jumping back into where my character is on the surface of a planet, and he's got to investigate this sort of corruption going on. And there may be some violence today. Could be fun, couldn't it? We might see my fucking character just die today in the first session of the game. That would be funny. More Fate or more Pathfinder? Neither. I reject that false dichotomy, my friend. It's between. It's a middle ground. I would say like it's aiming to be mid complexity. It's aiming to be fast. But what I've done is I've cut out what I see as unnecessary cruft, and I've made room for complexity where I think that complexity is interesting or makes the game better. And I'll be talking a lot about that when I actually make a video about it. I've pretty much got the script written, but you know, today I said that I was going to do this stream as part of my weekly thing before I even made that Daggerheart video, and I will fulfill my commitments to myself. As for the setting, it is a setting agnostic system. So the idea is that it allows GMs and like content creators, people that like making settings and worlds, but maybe they don't necessarily like making systems. This is a system so that you don't have to create an entire system just for your, like, you know, your fantasy world. This is a very flexible system, and it's very, very moddable. So it's, you know, you can play realistically, but I am like, the long part I'm currently sort of in the midst of with design is working on all what I call iconics. And iconics are like powers. They're called iconics because if you are like the healer in D&D, it's like, that is my thing. That's my special thing. And then someone takes a level 1 multi-class into cleric, and now they can heal too. And healing doesn't feel special anymore. To me, at that point, it should be like a rare, powerful thing in the world. So iconics in my system are like those rare, powerful things. They're a unique thing. They shouldn't be like a lot of overlap. I shouldn't be able to get some, you know, miraculous ability just by taking a multi-class. But depending on the setting that you're choosing, there's sort of like campaign frames like what Daggerheart has. But depending on the setting, you might have more of a high fantasy world where these powers are more commonplace, where it's a little easier to gain more of these powers as you level up. Or you might be playing in like a grim, realistic world where you just don't use iconics at all, and it's just the base system. But the base system has a lot of kind of fun tactical stuff. I am very much into tactics-based games, so there's going to be some exciting stuff here. There's some stuff that I'm really excited to show people. And that the main one is the reaction system. The reaction system, like, every time people play games, I see people, like, I see when I'm watching Critical Role, and Liam's like, oh, like, you know, is there a reaction I can take to, like, you know, swing at him as he's, like, trying to run out of the room? Or like, you know, that's not a good example because that's just an opportunity attack, but there's things like that where it's like, oh, can I try and catch this person? Can I try and, like, lunge for the artifact at the same time the bad guy is? And because it's a turn-based game, because it's very restrictive like that, the answer is usually, no, not unless you've got a specific reaction that says you can do that, right? And Daggerheart attempted to fix this with its loose initiative, but I don't think it works. I don't think it fixes the primary problem. If that was the intention there, I don't think it necessarily is, but that is something I've been thinking a lot about. I actually kind of sparked this idea when I was watching Vox Machina season 1, and towards the end of season 1, you see a moment where I think it's like Percy is running away from a dragon, and there's fire coming down, and Keyleth uses a vine and yanks Percy out of the way of the dragon fire. And that's fucking awesome, right? If you could do that in a game, but you can't do that in D&D. It doesn't let you. There's no ability. So it's just like, this is our dramatization of what D&D would look like if it was cinematic, because you can't actually do that in the game. And I guess maybe they tried to do that for Daggerheart, but didn't succeed, in my opinion, unfortunately. So that is what, in my game, the reaction system is meant to solve. And it's a really fun system. If anyone here has ever played Bravely Default, it's a really, really fun game. Remove branding. This is fucking shit. Is that showing up on my stream? I don't know. It's not. It's just a pop-up on my restream page. Anyway, reaction system. So yeah, if anyone here has ever played Bravely Default, there's it's a really, really fun little turn-based RPG where you can do this thing called Default, where you skip your turn, or you can brave, which is you can basically go into turn debt in order to take more actions. And it's such a fucking sick system. Now, that's kind of video gaming. However, there are some elements of this here, but obviously I want to ground that in fiction. So that's kind of like the reaction system. In this game, it is turn-based. There is an initiative order. However, you get your action back and your movement back at the end of your turn, not the beginning. So, after you end your turn, at any time before your next turn begins, if there is anything at all you want to react to in any way, you can take a reaction. Say someone attacks your ally. They're swinging a sword at your friend, and you can see them. You've got a gun trained on. You're the sniper in the distance. You can see that your friend is about to get stabbed in the back by an enemy rogue, and you can see the rogue, but your friend can't. In most systems, you know, unless you've got some special ability that specifically says you can do that, you know, you can't do anything. In Crossguard, you can take a reaction. You can take a reaction and do anything that you could do as an action. And the most common kind of reaction is a clash. So a clash is basically you take an attack against someone else. Basically, you roll your attack roll against their attack roll, or whatever ability it is you're using. You can clash with, like, say someone's like having an argument. You could technically clash with your conversational skill if you wanted. But back to the example. If you succeed against their action roll, then you do your action and their action is cancelled. So in effect, you have just, say it's the sniper example, you see your friend about to get stabbed, you go, I want to try and like shoot the dagger out of this assassin's hand. And you succeed on the roll versus that assassin's attack roll versus your friend. You have now done that. You have cancelled their action and you have done whatever the intention of your action was, whether that was to disarm them or to just fucking shoot them or anything else that you could normally do with an action, you know? Any action in the game that you have unlocked by being a caster or anything, you know? So I get a little bit effusive when I'm talking about the system. I gotta take a sip. So yeah, that's fun, and we might see that in action today. And there's also like a fatigue system. That's my resource that I use, is that rather than spell slots or, you know, once per day, once per session, once per combat, I don't like that kind of stuff because I don't feel that it's grounded in the fiction. So we just have fatigue. And anytime you make a roll on a dice, you can say, I want to exert. And the amount of fatigue you take is also the bonus you take to your dice roll. Because it's nice when things are straightforward, right? When things are intuitive. So if I take 1 fatigue, I can increase my roll by 1. And that can be anything. Kevin Riley, you're the person that sent the coffee. That's awesome. Like, thank you. I saw that at the start of the stream. I was like, what, who did this? You're the first person who's ever sent me any money. Thank you. That's rad. Yeah, that's really appreciated. Yeah, I was saying about exerting. Yeah, it's just you can do that with anything. So you don't need to burn a high level spell slot to do a really, really powerful spell. Instead, you're just gonna do like 4 exertions all at once, and that's gonna really boost your spell up. And because of the way the math works with the dice system, and the success levels, as we will see in a little bit, those small bonuses to a roll are very, very impactful. There's no separate damage system. You don't roll damage dice here. It's all determined by success level. I'm actually just going to show that right now since I'm talking about it. Here we are. It's right here. Can we see that? Let's make that a bit bigger on the stream just so I can talk about this. Yeah, that's you can see that. Okay. So, yeah. In this system, you have 2 dice. You've got your personal dice. You've got the difficulty dice. They are D10s. I kind of explained a bit earlier. I don't want to repeat myself in case other people were watching then, but you roll these 2 dice, and it's like basically like your positive minus your negative dice. So the dice results range from a -9 to a +9, and that basically just modifies your score. And then the score is just like, your stats, your skills. It's straightforward shit. It's numbers. And depending on how you score your result score after you add the dice, depending on how your score compares to the difficulty, or the person you're facing, their defense or their skill, that determines your success level. And success level is like, you could just play that totally narratively. In the full book, there's like description. This is just the rules reference here, but basically like a basic success, you've just barely succeeded or failed, right? Or basic failure. So a basic failure, it's like you failed, but it's not like necessarily a consequential failure. Degrees of success matter. It's the difference between missing a shot and shooting yourself in the foot. It's the difference between just barely passing an exam and getting 100%, right? And we reflect that through this. And each level of success has a corresponding effect level. That's the numbers you see on the right here. So a basic success is a 1, a sure success is a 2. Effect level is something like, if you're playing narrative, you don't have to use it. It's like a tool for GMs, but it just, so like in combat, if you score a basic success against your opponent, you deal 1 harm, sure success, 2 harm, and so on, right? Let's make sure this is working here. Yeah. And if you've got special abilities, like say you've got mind control, that ability is going to tell you what effect level does in that circumstance. So once again, there's no separate damage system. This success level system determines the kind of damage you do. The only like fiddly bit is that like in combat, in addition to like the skill that you roll with, like how good you are at swinging swords, you also have like the power of your weapon, and they have like the resilience of their armor, or just their body. And so like after you roll an attack, you add your potency. After they roll their defense, they add their resilience if it hits. And that determines the final success level and the final damage or effect that they take. Because this system doesn't just work for damage, it also like, say you're trying to knock someone back, that's the number of spaces you knock them back, right? And every effect, ability, or action in the game has its own way to interpret effect level. But obviously, like, we're GMs, we like to play a little bit of jazz with it, right? So effect level is something that you can interpret yourself. You can make mechanics that use effect level. So say, like, in your game, you've got a corruption mechanic. Like, people were exposed to chaos or whatever, or they like, certain temptations in the world, they corrupt your character. You might say, okay, like, at certain points, I'm going to have the players roll a check to resist corruption. And on a failure, if they fail, they're going to take this many corruption points, right? That's just something that I made up. Or say you're like, okay, I want to use like clocks or progress trackers. Like say everyone's under fire in a spaceship. You're trying to hotwire a spaceship while everyone's being attacked. You might go, okay, it's going to take 4 progress to successfully hotwire this ship. And so you go, okay, like a basic success, that gets you 1. Sure success, that gets you 2, right? So you can just use effect level as a GM however you want. Which is part of that, like, I'm trying to make the system flexible. And for me, it's really fun. It works. I know that when you're a GM, you want to, like, you don't just want to play out the design and the story that some designer has made for you, to try and kind of, it's their ego story, right? It's like, no, GMs and players have their own things that they want to do with the world. I'm getting on my fucking soapbox a bit here, but you know what I mean. I gotta eat this because I'm fucking starving. Yes, I am an English person eating a Greg's pasty. I am a stereotype. But they're a godsend. Keep them in my freezer, and they're a godsend. Okay. I'm gonna look and see, like, is anyone here? Yes, I am an English person. On YouTube, yeah. Eating a Greg's people bastard. Are actually here. It's just that the oh, they are showing up in the chat, right? Cool. I mean, I'm looking at restream here because I'm streaming to YouTube and Twitch. I just like to do that. How do you differentiate between an attack that is hard to hit but does a lot of damage and an attack that's easy to hit but does little damage? That's a good question. I mentioned before that attacks, attacks and defense are slightly more fiddly than the rest of the system because you have to factor in that extra little bit. It's like for an attack, that's your potency. For defense, that's your resilience. So if you hit, then you add your potency to that total, and that determines your final score. So if you wanted like a really accurate weapon that didn't do much damage, you might get a weapon that like has some kind of bonus to attack hit, or in general, I would say like you don't really get bonuses. In general, there's like there are some weapons, like say a heavy great axe that has this modifier called unwieldy, and that just gives you a -1 to hit. However, if you hit, you do +2 damage. It's just got +2 potency baked into the weapon. So in general, like people are always trying to hit as best they can, but there are options in the game for those kind of like more reckless attack type things where like you're taking a bigger risk reward, but if you do hit, it's going to be massive damage. And the system also does have a wounds system. So if you score a critical success or greater, I should move this up because you can't see the bottom here. Let's see. Let's just make this a little smaller. We're not going to talk about struggles right now. Struggles, I got a video to talk about struggles because that's a fun system. Okay. So can we see this? Because my face is sort of blocking it. We see it now. Yes, okay. So, as you can see, there is no limit to the level of success you can have. I just had to stop naming them after a certain point. If you're getting 10 or higher above a difficulty or your opponent's defense, that is an ultimate success. And every additional one is an additional 1 harm you're going to do to them. And harm is pretty significant in this game. I think at baseline, characters, you can take about 4 harm before you start feeling like staying on your feet is a struggle. There's no like straight up, like you are down and you definitely cannot get up unless you're like straight up knocked out. At first, when you get that result, you have to make a pain check basically, and it's like a 50-50 chance you're going to go down, and the more harm you're at, the worse those odds get. And if you score a crit fail, then you can fall unconscious as well. And if you take a certain amount of harm, then you just die. You know, simple stuff. I'm getting there's too many fucking questions. My brain's all over the place trying to explain the system. But yeah, what I was going to say is this system does have a wounds system. And like most other things, I like to keep it intuitive and straightforward. There's like an optional like location damage rule where you can like disable people's arms and stuff, but that is an optional rule because I don't think most people tend to use that. Even me, I think for most games, I'm probably not going to use that unless I'm going for a certain gritty style of game. So if you score a critical success or greater, then that's a wound. And in this case, like 3 harm is like the lowest threshold for causing a wound. And that gives you a wound penalty of -1. So when you've got that wound penalty of -1, you just take a -1 to everything you do. I think it also slows you down. Again, this is like a sort of a playtesting thing. I'm constantly changing the rules, so I'd have to check on some things. Yeah. And I was talking about fatigue earlier, but I forgot to mention the consequences of fatigue, because you don't have like a stamina bar like a video game where it's like I start out with 8 stamina. When they're all depleted, I cannot then take actions, because I don't feel like that's realistic, and I think there's a cooler way to do it, which is you just start out at 0 fatigue, 0 exhaustion, and every time you exert, you take fatigue, you add the fatigue to your total, and every 8 points of fatigue is 1 point of exhaustion. And every 1 point of exhaustion is just a -1 to all your rolls. So again, it's like I like to keep it intuitive like that. So as a player, that means you've got interesting choices. If you think that this is a really important roll, you can go, this is worth taking some fatigue for. And you also can say, if I take this point of fatigue, it's going to put me into exhaustion right now. But I could just keep exerting. I could just keep taking more fatigue to offset the exhaustion penalty, right? So that's really fun. But like you will pay for it in that campaign sense, in terms of your like campaign day-to-day resources. I think the general rule is that you basically recover from about 1 point of exhaustion per day. Like you recover 8 points of fatigue per day. So if you've taken more than 8 fatigue, you just fucking gone all out in some big combat, you're gonna need to rest for like a few days to recover. So that's your choice as a player. Like, how am I gonna, like, am I trying to conserve it? Is this a dungeon crawl? Or is this the final boss fight and it's all or nothing here right now? And then like afterwards, my character's gonna get a rest for fucking weeks while we do an epilogue. So, obviously, I think that feels thematic, and in some ways, more importantly, it's fun to use. It's just really fun to play as a player, making choices at the table. What I don't like is these abilities that just feel like they're a no-brainer. It's like once I get this option, I'm always going to use this, right? It's not a choice. So like when I put a choice into the game, I want to make sure it's a fucking choice that's worth bothering with, right? It's an interesting choice. Otherwise, it's just not a choice. You might as well just fucking, excise it from the game. Again, soapboxing. Maybe when I take too much damage. That is a good idea, Linchester, for your own game. Like I said, the rules for this are like pretty much done already. I've been working on them for a while. They've been pretty mature. The last year has been a lot of like play testing and refining and working on iconic powers. So when I launch it, the plan has always been, I want to start out with like low fantasy, dark fantasy stuff. And then, I can release more rules so you get more powers and things. For the simple reason that like, it's gonna take me years to add all the things I want to do. Like I've got a fucking prototype for a mecha system that I've been building because mechas are my bae, I watched all of like the old Gundam series this year, and I'm just like, I love Lancer. I gotta have a mecha system in my game. I'm sorry. But it's not going to be the first thing that I release. It's probably going to be like years down the line, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of extra work, and I got to finish the like base rules first. Okay. Right. Let's get back to putting Magnus updated. You can tell that all these things this is my like old imports from Obsidian. I haven't looked at the stuff in ages, so it's all faculty. We are going to set Magnus at, I think, a level 5. Because I need him to be strong, or he's going to fucking die, because he needs to solo this shit. Let's see. Alright, yeah, level 5. I'm calling it. If I die later on, then that's just my own fault. So, level 5. I've got 40 PP. I've got no fucking better name for this right now. For distributing on my character. GURPS uses CP, but there was something about that acronym that I don't like, so I don't want to use it. So for right now, we're using PP, which is so much better. It's like, you know, PowerPoints or something. Right. We're going to roughly rebuild him as he was. We can rebuild him. We can make him better. So 4 is a 0 in the new system. Dexterity, he had a 5 dexterity, so we're going with 1. Is this all still up on the screen? No, I've blocked it, haven't I? Let's close this down. All right. Let's put that away. Ho, ho, ho. Sick. All right, cool. I've cropped out too much of this. Let me fix that real quick. Crop left. Let's reduce that. Okay. Ideal. This, guys, is just literally like presentation is, you know, is what I do. Everything must be pristine. When I'm doing an impromptu session of my game, everything must be pristine. I got the lighting, I got the get everything clean. So Magnus's stats. He has a +1 to his wits. 5 in the old system. New system is just a 1, but it is the same system. Spirit is a 0. He's not an especially spirited person. However, we're going with the new system, so I might be able to sort of rebuild him. Because in this system, I will need to check the rules on one thing. I never fucking did it, did I? I've been so distracted, I haven't updated the system. There, here we are. Stat points cost 4, skill points cost 2, niche points cost 1. And traits and effects and things usually cost 1 or 2. So we've got 40 points to spend. So, did I do this on the Google Sheets? Yes, I fucking did. That's awesome. It's going to auto-calculate my spent PP for me. Thank you, past Greg. So, we might have more to spend than we think. Right. Every character starts out with some like background niches, which is, you know, kind of like things that you don't, like, you know, I know very well the place that I come from, where I live. So that's like a free bit of like niche knowledge that I have. And I haven't done these wildcard niches. We might do those. We might do those. Let's see. I'm just going to fill in these things first, and then we're going to add to it. And I'm going to go through the character creation process as well, because that's going to help make it easier. So, definitely, it's a lot more generous than it used to be. We're going to fill in everything that I had on the previous sheet. So he has melee, ranged 2, athletics, perception, social, and stealth. As for his niches, I definitely gave him niches before. Let me check something. Got sheets all over the place for this character, because he's kind of been the character that I've been using to playtest the game in some places. Characters. Magnus Metal. You guys can't see this, but found him. Here we are. Niches. Because I'm like, he's definitely got a niche in running. He's got 1 point into running. He's got 1 point in charm. This sheet is like fully modular. I made this for my own like playtesting purposes, so you can like fill things in it. As you can see, it's actually quite nice. It's quite functional. I do like it. He's got 1 in deception. He's got 1 in pistols. He's got 1 in sleight of hand. As you can see, our hero is kind of a rogue. And I'm going to fill in the weapons and armor that he has. He's got quality 3 light armor, which gives him a bonus of 3 to his resilience. I'm going to call that light armor because I'm an incredibly creative person. And he has a blade, which I have some fucking flavor for somewhere. That has a quality of 3, and it gives a bonus of 5 to his potency. It is a short melee, sharp weapon. And he has his gun. It's also a quality of 3. Quality is sort of like, it can be based on the technology level of the world, kind of like what GURPS does. So yeah, but like, you know, you go to a technological world, everything's going to be higher quality at baseline. But it's also kind of like, you know, as you go through the campaign, you can get higher quality stuff, bigger bonuses to your armor, you know, RPG stuff. And there's guidelines in the book for like what kind of quality should be like given at certain levels and how. So it's like, you know, say the baseline like quality of the world is 1. Like that's what's commonly available. Quality 1 stuff is commonly available from shops. Quality 2 probably also available from shops, maybe a bit more expensive. And then as we get up the ranks, it's more like, you know, this probably shouldn't be just available. You're going to have to find it, steal it. And at the really high end, we're talking like fucking mythical weapons of legend, right? So that is the deal with how quality works, but we're not going to get sidetracked. So his pistol does 3 damage. It is a sharp weapon. It's one-handed. That's not really relevant anymore. Did I write shart? What am I looking at? The relevant part here is that it's sharp, and it is a mid-range weapon, which I think is just like 30 meters until we start taking penalties there. Where's my rules reference? Mid-range. So yeah, that's a 30 meters weapon. I'm going to put it here. So we can shoot past that 30 meter range. It's just going to be like additional penalties. Like if we're going like 30 to 60 meters, that kind of range, we're at a -2 penalty at that point. We can, yeah, if we're going like 60 to 90 meters, so I'm like a -4 penalty. So like, you know, that's kind of how it works, right? In real life, there's a little bit of penalty. You can still make the shot. It's not just advantage, or rather, it's not just like baseline or disadvantage. Because I think a lot of people will agree that like that system, although it's been really nice for getting people into TTRPGs, it has kind of flattened a lot of these, like, it's kind of flattened a lot of the interesting maths behind the system into just like, you know, advantage you're basically guaranteed to hit. I'm really, really simplifying things, but this is just, yeah, I'm just going on a side rant here. Thank you, Linchester. That is cool. I'm glad. I kind of expected today I was just gonna like, you know, like I said, I'm just doing this stream because I said I was going to before I even put the video up. The fact that there are people here is surprising to me and awesome at the same time. It's very appreciated. So I was gonna just like fucking play this game solo. Now I'm also answering a lot of questions about the system. That's cool, you know. But we are gonna play. We are gonna fucking play today. I want to play this game. All right. Back to making Magnus. Done the weapons. That is everything I need in the sheet. We've got some like role-playing details, but you know, we just kind of use notes for that. So, I have spent 27 PP. I gotta fucking change that acronym. But that's what it is for now. We've actually got 40, so we've got 13 left to spend. Now, who is Magnus, right? Who is Magnus Mittal? He is in this Ironsworn Starforged world. And we're going we're a little bit gonzo with it, right? This is a world that I already made quite some time ago. So we've got a whole history and backstory. I'm not going to go through all of that because, you know, we'd be world building. But I am going to do some stuff. This is all also, by the way, stuff that I have just like made up for this particular character. These aren't like abilities in the game. And everything is fucked up because these are old notes that I imported from OneNote. Thank fuck, which I did, because fuck OneNote. We're on Obsidian now. So I'm just importing all this old stuff here. And I'm gonna craft some kind of way that works. Or I guess what I should do is decide on how much that would cost. Like just a reasonable cost. Like if I were a GM and my player comes out with a bit of homebrew, like they say, I want this ability that's not in the book. And they go, okay, that's going to be like 2 PP, right? So, I've got a lot more equipment here. Let's fill this in as well. It's my inventory. Yeah. Lion Cub G24 series pistol. We've got a sealed environment suit. And we got our blade, which I assume is not like a fancy blade. It's just some shit that he got off his crappy colony ship. Because Magnus is, he has arrived in Asgard, in this system. It's from the Ironsworn Starforged opening stuff. On a colony ship because Earth was just fucked. And it was like rich people get on the nice big first colony ships. And then like as things get worse and worse and the planet is like going into just like fucking criminal rules, like all the leaders of the world, all the celebrities, all the nice pretty people have well already left on those first colony ships. So the world descends into just anarchy. And a few more colony ships get cobbled together and make it out of Earth. And Magnus is on one of those ships, or I should say, Magnus is not on one of those ships. His parents are, and he is born on that colony ship on the journey to this Asgard system. And he has kind of a shitty childhood. He has a rival who was once his best friend. The rival's name is Voldar Warphand, a Star Runner. And Voldar, like they had this rivalry going back and forth through the years. And, you know, Voldar and Magnus just fucking hate each other. They were once like brothers. They fucking hate each other now. And both of them grew up on the same colony ship. They have now both arrived, adults, in this world of promise, you know, the world of tomorrow in the Asgard system, in the kind of United States sector. And they both want to be Star Runners because Star Runners are just the heroes, right? It's your fucking adventurers in this setting. It's the people who go and take on jobs. It's they you know, do deliveries between star systems. They have their own ship. You get like a nice little sponsorship. And that's already happened in our story. We've done the sort of prologue bit. So Magnus is now a certified Star Runner, and he is on his first planet doing his sort of first mission. And we're going to go into that. I just wanted to give, you know, that is who we are. That's what's going on here with our character. So you can see he's got, you know, he's a little bit scrappy. He knows how to use a gun. He knows how to use a shiv. And he knows how to run. He knows how to charm. He knows how to deceive. So, and he knows how to you know, use a little bit sleight of hand. But we've got 13 more points. And one of the little things we don't just want to make a character who's like basic. We want to give him some cool power like shit, right? So we're in sci-fi, and I decided, because I'm using basically Solid Snake, or not Solid Snake, but fucking the older Snake. I've forgotten his name. Naked Snake. We're using one of the snakes with a fucking eye patch as his image. So that's kind of what with what Magnus looks like. And he's got one eye, and his missing eye has been replaced with a bionic eye. So that gives us some cool powers, because I'm playing kind of like a gonzo thing here. So I'm like, okay, I want a power that's going to let him have a better chance of reading people, maybe have some abilities to bio-scan things. This was like one of the trait cards in the original Ironsworn. It was the augmented trait. So I kind of imported that here, and I basically just said, yeah, you do that stuff. You can scan things. So I'm going to copy and paste into traits here. Ooh, that's a long fucking lot of words. Let's just take the relevant mechanical bits here. Like a circumstantial bonus of a +4. What have we got? Bionic eye. Circumstantial bonus of +4. Or it's like +1 or 2 if only debatably helpful. Right. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And we're going to like adjudicate that in the session. Because this is not some ability that's like in the book that I made. I just kind of fucking made that. I think there's a version of it that I've been working on in the book. But that's kind of like the long-term thing, is that like trying to write like mechanics for each and every power that exists in fiction is going to be a long-term goal. It is a long-term goal, but it's, I have to prioritize things in order. So right now in the book, you've got basic powers, you've got fire and ice and all that sort of thing. The basic things you would expect from like a dark fantasy RPG. We've got a little bit of like transformations, a little bit of shape shifting. There's a summoning system. There's all kinds of little stuff that's going to fit that grim dark fantasy vibe. And stuff like this, more kind of high tech or high fantasy powers, are kind of on the long-term stuff, which I'm kind of working on as I find them fun, but I'm trying not to get too distracted by working on that stuff that like I'm not going to be able to put in any books for a while. I've worked out a full fucking mecha system that's like, super fucking beta, super scrappy, but because I just want to play the game myself in a mech. Fuck everyone else. Sorry, guys. It's going to take a while before I finish those rules. Let's fill in the rest of its inventory here. We've got arm flashlight, toolkit, medikit, persicom, dice set, and let's just put like general effects, right? Anything that's like not that important here. We'll put medikit as one, and then we'll just have effects, and we'll write toolkit, persicom, dice set, one of Voldar's sharpened teeth on a necklace. Because fuck Voldar, man. So we've got that. As for this, I need to assign a cost for this. I'm going to give this a cost of 2. It is also an iconic power for him. So, not everyone gets a bionic eye. Because then it would be fucking lame. If everyone could just buy that for 2 PP, then everyone would just have all the powers in the world. And that's not fun. You don't want everyone to have the same fucking powers as you. So it's iconic. It's his special snowflake ability. And a lot of the powers as he progresses are gonna extend outwards from this bionic eye. You know, maybe it'll get better at doing certain things. Maybe it'll start being able to see through walls and shit like that. But that's just stuff that I'm kind of homebrewing. Movement factor is a 1. Right. So we've got 11 more points to spend. And if we look at the character growth and our tier limits, we can see that him being level 5, which probably, I think that just hasn't been updated yet, this part of the Google Sheets. But he's level 5, he's got 40 PP. So he can have skills up to 3, niches up to rank 2, his stats can be up to rank 2. I want to increase stat. Do we want to increase dexterity or wits? What's more important? Minus Maximus, I'm going to do that. Next week, that's my plan, is I'm going to be talking. This is like nothing to do with my upload schedule or anything, really. This is just me doing this, and it just so happened that because that video about Daggerheart was quite successful, is that people are aware of my existence, and some people have actually showed up to the stream today, which is awesome. I don't know whether I want dexterity or wits to go up. Let's go for some skills. Running, charm, deception, pistol, sleight of hand. I think we're going to boost social up by 1. Because that's going to boost, you know, that's the umbrella that contains things like deception and charm. I just want to boost that up. So yeah. And his skills can go up to 3 now. So we've got 9 PP left. I don't want to like min-max this or anything like that. I'm not trying to build a strong character here. I'm trying to build the character as they would be, because that's what I enjoy most when I'm playing an RPG. You can min-max a little bit in this game, though. You definitely can build a very combat-centric character, although it is like moderated by the system, how high you can push a skill. Because we don't want people to feel like, you know, I come into an RPG and I build the character I want, which is all well and good, but then I feel like I've built a suboptimal character. If someone else in the group has made a really strong character, and then I feel like I'm kind of getting sidelined, right? We don't want people to feel like that. We want to feel like they can just build the character how they want, the way they would want that character to be, and they're also going to be a fairly effective character. So that's how I've built the system. I'm getting cold. I kind of want to go athletics. That's going to boost his running up, and anything athletics based. So 7 points remaining. Perception. Stealth. All of these are good picks. I think I'm going to go skills here over additional stats. Yeah. Although if I picked wits, that's going to boost perception and social potentially. So maybe I should do that. Yeah, I mean, I don't want I don't want Magnus to die today because I built a non-combat character, but he is kind of more of a detective and investigator than just a shooty man. You know what? Let's give him 40 PP. Let's give him 40 because we want to make him competent. I want to boost dexterity up to 2. This is going to give him, with 50 PP, he is now level 6, so he can have niches up to 3 now as well. Okay, got 9 more. His stats are already like capped. These 2 that he likes. You can't boost them any higher than 2 until he levels up. So we're going to leave those there. He's not weak by any means, but he's just not where his skills lie. And he's got armor. His sealed environment suit has some resilience to it. It's not a fucking power suit or anything like that, but it'll do something when bullets hit it. It'll provide some kind of resistance. Let's boost ranged up, and let's boost melee up, each by a point. Let's boost perception up. Let's boost stealth up. Let's boost. We've only got 1 point left. I don't think I can buy anything other than a niche, so we're going to save that. Endurance. Could endurance be good? If I put a point into endurance, pain threshold doesn't go up. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it, and then the cool thing about leaving it is that in session, if we decide retroactively that actually Magnus has this little thing, he's actually a great dancer, we could just write dancer down and give him a point in that. Or if he, like, you know, rolls really well at something in the session, and we're like, oh, the fiction tells me that you're good at that, then I could just put a point straight into that, right? I like to do that kind of thing. So we have 1 point spare. And Magnus is totally not going to die today. Now that I've done that, I can close off this part of the sheet on the left, because that's just kind of like, you know, fiddly XP-based stuff. We've also got this on the right. Just makes that maths easier, but you don't have to see it when you're playing the game. So we're gonna fucking play some game around together. I do need to close this old sheet. We're going to get into the session. Right. More food. And we're going to remember what I did in the last sessions. We're going to skip this one. This was all prologue stuff. This was done in Crossguard. But for the relevance of our plot and what is happening right now in the story, this is the story so far. So our gunslinger, Magnus Metal, fresh off the Endurance colony ship, arrived at the end of the generations-long journey to the planet Vindication and was able to quickly find a job star running, doing odd jobs across the sector at the helm of his own ship, loaned out generously by the United Enterprise, which is kind of like your USA-Britain combo. His first mission was on the planet Timoris. He's helping out a buzz dip rancher named Kassira Hadley, whose herd of buzz dips had recently dipped from 100 to 86. The buzz dips harvest verdex, a valuable resource for the Enterprise. One clue pointed towards a creature, a Smelos, which is like a predator type creature. But Mital likes to investigate, and he's not going to jump to the first conclusion. So he's headed into town. He's looked into other leads. He's discovered that Kassira's biggest rival was a rancher named Aaron Hobbs, and he decided to check out this man. So, dirty old man shows past Magnus. Magnus is having a smoke. He looks around. Big factory, which is where Aaron Hobbs works. He's had a look around the place. And there is like as he perceives the landscape, there's a soullessness to this town. Like, even more so than you might normally expect from these kind of frontier capitalist towns that are kind of just, working class people who are giving all their riches to people like Aaron Hobbs. What he does notice is the fancy tech that they all seem to be wearing, which are armband-like devices that seem to hold a variety of attachments. Seems like there are benefits to working with Mr. Hobbs. Now, all of that happened in meat time, in real time, like fucking 2 years ago is when I did that. Because I've been real busy making the game. I haven't had as much chance to play the Ironsworn session, which is the whole fucking reason I made the game to begin with when I started 3 years ago. because I just wanted to play a little Ironsworn, and it got out of hand. Okay, I ended up making an entire fucking TTRPG. But now we get to resolve that introduction that I started 3 years ago. We get to fucking play the fucking video game. The video game, the fucking whatever. Right. Okay. Let's clean up OBS a smidge here. Let's just make it so we can see this. And I'm going to move our core rules so we can see them. So we can see our little rules window here. And I'm going to be referencing these rules as I go. You're not going to be able to see much. I'm half tempted to just take it off the screen, but I like to have things here. Let's just have these success levels up here, because that's, you know, and then people are going to know what the fuck we're talking about, or what the fuck I'm talking about. Let me see. That's the problem, isn't it? It's having everything up on the screen is borderline impossible. I guess we can have it over here. Over Obsidian. Yeah, that works. Because I'm not going to be using all of that. Right. I'm going to edit this. Bear with me. Cool. All right. That'll fucking do. We are, what, an hour into the stream? But we are playing now. I got my pink monster. I got my cold homemade coffee. I got my Greg's pasty. I'm all ready to go. Right. Let's copy and paste the bottom line. Let's just copy and paste all of this. So we got our notes to continue off from. Let's make sure you can actually see that here. There we are. I'm not going to be able to guarantee that everyone can see everything, you know, for the whole stream, because I am just running this impromptu. This is pure improv. I've got no plans for the session. I have no idea what's going to happen. I would like to do some skullduggery. So, we're in this frontier town. It's dusty. We've got this kind of greenish sky. We see these buildings around. And Magnus is kind of feeling unwelcome. He's kind of feeling like it's really hard to get information out of people. He's tried a bit of carousing. I'm like, do I send him to the brothel to spend a night to just like try and gather information, because that's what Magnus would fucking do. No, we don't need to see that. I want to do some more real skullduggery. I am going to. Okay. So Magnus is thinking. And he just wants to have a little look round the facility. The facility that's all locked up where Mr. Aaron Hobbs works. So, Magnus regards the huge factory warehouse-looking building. Several huge energy fields. So if you imagine how, like, when you see these big farming places sometimes, they have these like sort of big covered outdoor vivarium type things. That's kind of how I'm seeing this in my head. But instead of, physical materials, they're like energy fields. That stops like pests and predators getting in, and that stops your livestock or your workers getting out. And I think he's going to walk, just like sort of walk as close as you can to the vicinity without really, without really trying to draw attention to himself. I think what could be good here is to do a kind of like stealth check to just see if he can do this without being noticed. It's not going to be like a high consequence roll. They're just going to have noticed that he's having a nose around. However, Magnus is quite good at sneaking, so he should be able to do this unnoticed. I'm not going to burn any fatigue here, because this is a fairly low stakes roll. And I'm going to set the difficulty at 0. So, my sneak is a 4. So it's going to be a 4 versus a 0. I'm going to roll these dice one at a time to see what happens. And in the narrative circumstances here, well, I'll explain as we go. Let's roll the first dice, our personal die, our positive die. That's a 4 on the d10. So Magnus isn't, this isn't the most skillful thing Magnus has ever done. It's kind of middling. Let's roll our difficulty die. That's a 1 on the difficulty die, which is very good for us. That's the best possible result. And as we interpret this in the narrative, what that means is that the guards are not exactly on watch. They're kind of fucking inattentive. Mechanically, 4 minus 1 is a +3. So it's a +3 to our sneak value of 4. So that's a 7. We scored a 7 versus a 0. So in mechanical terms, that's a sure success. Right? He's not just scraped past the finish line. He's done pretty well. He is unnoticed. And I would say that probably gives him an opportunity to see a bit more. So we're going to do a follow-up roll, which is like how much he's able to see as he goes around here. I'm not going to set a difficulty here. I'm just going to roll the dice and see what I get. Because I'm playing solo, because I'm playing with generative systems, I don't know what he's going to see. I'm just making this up as I go along. So let's just see what I roll, and then I'll make up the the received information based on the results of that roll. We're going to be rolling perception, which is... Perception is a 2, with wits is a 4. So let's roll this dice. We've got that's a 1 and a 7, so a -6. 1 on his die, 7 on the difficulty die. So I scored a -2 on my perception check. That's quite bad, because although I didn't set a difficulty, I feel like -2 is a pretty bad score. Even if it was a 0 difficulty, that's a failure. I think what's happening is that the energy fields are... so Magnus, he manages to skulk around the facility, or the outside of the facility, unnoticed by the inattentive guards. but he can't see shit. The energy fields are so opaque, it's really hard to see much through them. And there's just like everything is locked up so tight with Aaron Hobbs. No one in the town is telling him anything. He's just got a hunch that there's something about this Hobbs guy, that obviously he's Kasira's main rival, that he's got a vested interest in seeing her creatures get killed, but he can't prove it. He doesn't know. He can't see shit. And let's be real, it's unlikely that he would be able to find anything out from just walking around outside the facility. Unfortunately, he also can't find any good entrances to get in. So sneaking is going to be quite a difficulty. I think what Magnus needs to do is take a social approach, like disguise himself. He's seen everyone in town has these like technological armbands, which seem to be almost like a gift, like a thing, a patronage that you get from helping Aaron Hobbs. So I think it would be a wise idea for Magnus to try and appropriate one of these armbands. But how is he going to do that? Or do I go off and investigate the creature? Because that might give me a bit more time, and it might allow for more information to come up. Because everything here is just like dead end, dead end, dead end. What do we do? Let's see. Chat, do we go and try and enter the facility where our villain is and try and sneak in? Or do we go out into the wilderness and start checking out this wild creature that might have been the cause of the buzz dips, cause of like these creatures being killed? In so doing, we might eliminate that as a cause. What do we do? My gut instinct is telling me I want to go out into the wilderness, do some dusty gunslinging, because we've been around town and everyone just keeps saying fucking no to me. These fucking bastards don't understand I'm a star runner. I'm here to help, you know, and make a bit of money, yes, but like to help, even if it's not in their best interest to perhaps be out of a job if I shut down Aaron Hobbs. Yeah, no one wants a fucking star runner just skulking around the town. Let's go out into the wilderness, make ourselves scarce. Did I give Magnus a vehicle? He's got his ship, which we kind of like skipped past. I'm sort of in media res with this. I don't think he's got a vehicle. And I think he doesn't have a vehicle because that was like a thing that you had to buy in Starforged. You had to like use a fucking trait to get it. So I didn't give him one. So I'm going to stick with that. He's just a dusty ass gunslinger, but maybe he can rent one out. Did I give Magnus any amount of money? Come on, past Greg. Did you give him any money? I don't think I did. Let's decide right now how much money Magnus would have on him. And, you know, we're just going to use sort of equivalent to real life dollars here. He's been given like a stipend to help. Let's say 250. He's got 250. And this is a relevant detail because I want to know if I can rent a vehicle. How much does renting a bike cost for a day in real life? Motorbike rental cost. 100 to fucking 350. Jesus Christ. My sense of money is all out of whack. We got to haggle. It's a poor town. They'll let me have a bike for like 50, right? I think 50 is like the normal cost in this frontier town. But we're going to try and haggle and get that down. So Magnus decides he's going to go check out the lair of the... It's called a... Come on. Past Greg. A Smelos. He decides he's going to go check out the lair of the Smelos. Let's just walk. Because he's got, it's got camping supplies and shit, right? What do you have camping supplies? He's got a ship. That's what he's going to do. Yeah. We've got narrative travel here. Because I says we do. And this is probably a good time to introduce our ship. So. Magnus, where's my sheet gone? So he goes beep, 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 beep on his persicom. He calls down his ship. He's like, I need a pickup down here. And the ship's AI is like, are you finished with your mission already? And he goes, no, not exactly. We're going to go out on a little hunt. And as the ship comes down, having kind of landed near the town, he gets a few shitty looks from the local people in the town as he steps into this kind of ovalish shaped front of the ship, this shiny looking United Enterprise vessel, freshly loaned. But as we all know, just because something looks shiny doesn't mean it's not a piece of shit in the inside. It's not meant to break down after a period of 5 years or less. Because you wouldn't want to steal from the United Enterprise. So he gets in his ship, and he's got an AI in the ship. And AI in this world are shackled to particular purposes. You're not supposed to have an AI that can just do everything, because that is fucking dangerous. So this AI is just meant to pilot ships and be an assistant to Star Runners and nothing more. Magnus steps into the ship and he inputs the coordinates of the rough area. Steps into ship, inputs the rough area. Smelos is known to be their hunting grounds, which is back near the rancher Kasira Hadley. Kasira Hadley's awesome. Didn't get to introduce her yet, but we might see her. And hopefully I don't get fucking killed by this thing. That would be fucking embarrassing to just die live on stream. And as we fly around this area, I think he's going to try and use the ship's scanning capabilities as he's kind of looking out the window to try and, ascertain where this motherfucker is. I think we're just going to roll perception here. Like I could use some of the ship's capabilities. Let's do both, shall we? What's most interesting to do? I mean, I didn't specify that the ship had any scanning capabilities or anything like that. It is just a ship that is meant to take you from place A to place B. So I don't think it would. I think he's just going to be looking out the window, looking for places that look like where a predator would live. And yeah, he's lived his entire life on a colony ship. He's never really been on planets before, so he yeah, he's not particularly good at this. He's not going to get any circumstantial bonuses. It's just going to be raw perception. And I'm going to say I'm going to set this at a difficulty of 3 for like a basic success. And a basic success, we're probably not going to get much out of that. And we're going to see what happens if we fail. So his perception is a 4. Roll the dice. That's a -2. So we've scored a 2 versus the difficulty of 3. We have fucking failed. Maybe I should have exerted. Oh well, it's too late now. There is a rule. You can exert after the fact by paying double, but I'm not going to do that. I accept this consequence. Magnus can't see or find shit. So he's like, for fuck's sake. All right. We're gonna go back to the rancher. We're gonna do a stakeout. I think that's a safe thing to do right now. We're gonna go see if they come to us. Whoever's killing the buzz dips, we're gonna just keep an eye out and see if we can notice anything happening as the sun falls down tonight. Plus, I get to see Kasira again. So he sets the ship on the flight path back to Kasira. Sees nothing, but heads back to Kasira for a stakeout. And I think on the way back, he's going to get a call from... Where's my old sheet? Got my details here. The last session, the session I did a prologue at, Isa Talon is our handler with the Federation. She's the lady who's going to be assigning us missions from aboard the Freedom, which is a giant space station of the United Federation. All right. Isa is kind of a brusque woman. Put Magnus through a combat simulation last time so that I could have fun doing a little bit of combat. We also flashed over to Voldar's simulation. So Magnus is going to get a call from Isa. And she's going to be like, incoming call. And he's like, and the AI is like, would you like to take this call? And he's like, it's Miss Talon. I'd better. Picks up the call. And she's like, Mr. Magnus, so I see you've landed on the planet Timoris. How's the investigation going? And Magnus is like, it's going all right. It's I'm just staking out the territory right now. It's gathering information. She's like, oh, getting a lot of leads, finding a lot of clues. He's like, yeah, well, yes. Townspeople are kind of fucking quiet, so yeah, I mean, you're going to experience that on these frontier worlds, Magnus. People people out in the frontier, they don't want to see star runners come through. That's why it's your job to get to know them, to break through that shell. But we're not paying you to make friends, we're paying you to solve a job. So you can handle it, right? Yes. No, it's not a problem. It's my first time planet fall, but I've got a plan. And I got some leads. I'll speak to you tomorrow. And they close off the call as yeah, Isa wants to know about the progress of his mission. So Magnus returns to Kassira Hadley's ranch. Right. Man, he already did visit a bunch of brothels. Jesus Christ, Magnus. Man, I've even got more stuff here. That the AI is named Roger. Okay. Okay. And his ship is called the Ball and Chain. Okay. Where is my old session 1? There we go. So, Kassira Hadley. I'm actually going to make a little note here. So we've got a little NPCs page going on. We're going to have some NPCs. I'm going to have Kassira Hadley. I'll do some other stuff off stream. But just so that I've got like a permanent note so that I don't lose where like the descriptions for these characters. So we arrive down at Kassira Hadley's ranch, and just like in the town, there's this kind of like force field keeping her creatures in, her buzz dips. And these things, they're like little creatures that pull this material called verdex out of the ground. And verdex is like a mutagen, it helps people adapt to foreign planets. But like instead of, having the verdex just be like you could just milk the verdex from these creatures, basically. So Kassira Hadley is a rancher that does that. She keeps these verdex, these creatures, buzz dips. And I don't think she's outside as he arrives, as the sun is kind of coming down. So he goes up to her house and he knocks on the door, and Kassira answers the door. And Kassira is I don't think she would be wearing her kind of beekeeper suit at this time. No. I think Kassira is wearing loose-fitting clothing. Like, she's at home. She's done for the day with her job. She's about 5'3". She's got blue tinted skin and these kind of large bug-like eyes with double eyelids, because she has taken more than enough mutagens to be able to adapt to this planet. Not everyone looks like this who lives on this planet. Some of these aesthetic modifications are, you know, for aesthetics. We don't know in the case of Cassira. We don't know why she looks like this. I think for Magnus, it's probably the first person he's ever seen who looks like this. Yeah. And last time we spoke to Cassira, we found out she's been working here for about 75 years. So she looks a lot younger than she is. We've also got information about Smelos. Just so I can delete that. Let's not do that. Let's put that in our persistent notes. Our world compendium. Listen, man, I don't always come up with good names for shit when I'm improvising on the fly. Okay, so they're called Smelos. I don't know. And let's also take our notes on buzz dips here. Okay. Right. Cassira's at the door. And Magnus is knocked. Oh, hey there, son. Did you manage to find the leads today? Well, I mean, you know about Mr. Hobbs, right? Of course I know about Mr. Hobbs. Well, you know, obvious leads are obvious. I think he might be your man, but so far I got nothing to prove it. I mean, the place was locked down pretty tight, and people in the town ain't really saying much to me, you know? Well, that's about as expected. So why are you here, Mr. Mittal? Well, I was thinking maybe I could do a little bit of a stakeout tonight. I went looking for that lair of that Smelos creature, but couldn't find anything. So, simple solution. You know, while you're getting your beauty sleep for the morning, I'll stay up and I'll protect your buzz dips. All right, well, whatever you want to do, Star Runner. You don't have anything to eat, do you? And we cut as Magnus goes inside the house. They have a little bit of food. He's gonna try and fucking charm Cassira because he's Magnus Mittal, and just gonna see how this goes. Even though Magnus is in a deep confusion here because he's like, I like this lady. You know, I've been stuck on a fucking colony ship for like my entire life, and I'm seeing like real people out in the world for the first time who aren't like dirty, dusty ventilation dwellers. So of course he's going to try and chat her up a bit. But he's also like aware that she's at least 75 years old. But man, he's got to do what he's got to do. How's his charm going to come out here? Again, I'm not going to set a difficulty. I'm just going to roll and interpret that narratively because that's fun. Oh, it's a 5 and a 5, so no modifiers to my result here. It is just my charm result, which is I think in this case, I don't think it would be wits necessarily. It might be spirit if you wanted, but he is going to use wits. It's, you know, social savvy. So wits, social, charm, 5. His result is a 5, which is pretty good. I think she is taken with him, and you know, he's a nice young man. But you know, they say goodnight for the night as she goes up to bed, and Magnus heads out into the Buzzdip area keep a stakeout. He's got his metallic kind of blanket there. As things start to get real cold, his breath starts to form a fog in front of him. As the sun goes down and as the buzz dips kind of sink into the ground to maintain heat, they're huddled together. As Greg refuels in real life. I don't think Magnus is like nocturnal. I think he's probably not slept for most of the day. I think he's probably tired. So I think like perception checks are good and all. But before we do that, I'd like to make a spirit-based check, which is like your resolve, your determination, your discipline, those kinds of things. I want to see if he can avoid falling asleep. And the way I'm going to interpret this is like if it's just like a basic failure, then I'll still get a perception check, but it's going to be like not for the whole night, right? It's like until he falls asleep and, you know, the thing might fucking arrive. We're going to interpret this narratively. So I'm going to make a spirit check and see if he can stay awake. I've got anything to add to this? Not really. I don't think athletics was ever meant to help with staying awake. What I would, if I had a point in perseverance, I would definitely add that. I think that would be the governing skill here for, like, you know, resisting sleep. But we don't have any points in that. So we just have a 0. And I think staying awake for the whole night is quite a fucking difficult task. I'm going to set the difficulty at 4 for staying awake for like most of the night. And I'm going to set a difficulty of 8 for staying awake the whole night. So chances are Magnus is going to fail here. But we can exert. And I think that's what I need to do. I think I'm going to exert as much as I possibly can to try and improve our chances of success at this. So at least we can maybe get a basic success. So I'm going to mark down my 2 fatigue. I'm going to take +2 to my roll. I have a 0, so it's just a 2 with my exertion. Let's see. That is a 0 on the dual dice. So I just score, like my score is just my score. And that's a 2. So unfortunately, it's a failure. It's not a failure by much. As I was saying, like, I think, you know, if I succeed here, basic success, he gets to stay awake for like half the night. And it's only a basic failure, right? So I think he manages to stay awake for a little while. Maybe a couple of hours. Like after that 2-hour mark of past his normal bedtime, like, you know, he's staying awake for the evening. That's fine. But as things get into the deep of the night, I think about 2 a.m., between that 2-3 a.m. mark, he just starts getting sleepy, man. Like, he doesn't have to stay awake on a regular basis. I think at first, he's just smoking. He's got his pack of smokes and he's just chain smoking because that's what he does, because he's a fucking hard-boiled detective. And then he runs out of smokes and he's got nothing to occupy himself. He's, you know, maybe he would chew gum, but he's got nothing. He doesn't want to go inside the house and kind of like make noise and wake up Hadley searching for food, or end up being rude, kind of, you know, put his foot in it. So he just tries to stay outside and just tries to keep his eyes glued open. He tries, like, you know, slapping himself. He tries doing all these things to keep himself awake. But he's also trying to stay quiet because he's trying to keep his eye out for predators, which may be human or maybe creature. So he manages to stay awake until around 2, 3 a.m. And he runs out of cigarettes and falls asleep. Now, the question is, did anything happen before he fell asleep? Because, like, if something happened before he fell asleep, then none of this matters. So, like, So I think we want to do something like a luck roll. Oh, no. I know what we're going to do. This is what these are for, baby. Tarot cards, man. And I don't think we need more than one card here. We're just going to draw one card, and that is going to tell us something, and I'm going to interpret that because that is fun. We have the star. I don't know if anyone can see that on the stream, but we've got the star. What does the star mean in tarot? We've got a naked lady pouring something from a jug into water. We've got stars up ahead. It's kind of thematic here because, you know, we are staying up at night beneath the stars, sleeping beneath the stars here. And so I guess, like, that's the scene, and we want to interpret what is being poured out. Perhaps blood being spilled. Perhaps... Oh, I just got an idea. No, I don't think Magnus is necessarily aware of this. As a GM here, I'm going to come up with some information that Magnus may or may not know, but we're going to establish some truths here about what's going on. And that's going to help us. The picture of the star is as a woman pouring water into a lake. And these buzz dips, we know they pull vertex out of the ground. So what if the very ground itself has been being poisoned? So some of these buzz dips are sucking some toxin out of the ground, and that's what's killing them. Slowly over time, because they don't want it to be too obvious, the buzz dips are being poisoned. And I think based on that established fact, that would also explain why Kasira hasn't been able to see anything, why it's, you know, they just keep getting away with it. But I think this is a recurring kind of occurrence. You have to keep topping it up, perhaps. And I think someone was here tonight. Now, what time they would have come, I don't know. I'm going to say between the hours of 10 p.m. and I'm trying to decide how do I do this with like a D10. Yeah, I think between the hours of about 10 p.m. and 8 a.m., someone may have visited. Realistically, I think it probably would have been at least past midnight. But let's just roll the dice. And I'm going to say, I'm just going to re-roll if it's like, you know, a 1 or a 2 or a 7 or an 8. I'm just going to roll this. It's 10. I'm just going to re-roll until it's kind of like a number that's over 2. and below 8. Okay, that's a 3. So I think it's just like about an hour past midnight that this happens. So we're actually going to retcon this. He thinks he won't be able to stay awake past 2, 3 a.m. This is kind of just an established rule for how long he would be able to stay awake. But I think it's like it's long enough that he's got a chance to see something here. So there is a figure who emerges from the darkness at some point in the night. And I think they're doing this from outside the force field. Another reason, like, you know, it's taking a long time, but I think they're poisoning the very ground around the area. And so it's even harder for Magnus to see this because they are through this force field. They are on the outside. He has to successfully notice them sneaking around out there. However, Magnus is quite perceptive. I will say with his bionic eye, it's more of a close-up thing. I don't think it's like a broad perceptive thing. Let's see if I wrote down anything about that sheet or about the original thing in Starforged. I got my Starforged deck of cards here. And let's see if we can find the bionic eye asset, because I kind of want to play it by the rules here. You know, I'm trying to decide whether or not to give myself a bonus from this bionic eye, based on fairness. So I was augmented. You're equipped with an advanced prosthetic, implant, or mechanical enhancement. When you make a move directly aided by the augment, add +1. Yeah, I mean, the way I specify the eye, it does help kind of almost see through things. Like he can see people's heartbeats. He can see things like they're perspirating a little bit. So I think actually, this would actually help him perhaps see through things like force fields. He just sees better than normal people. So yeah, I am going to give him a bonus to this actually. And in fact, what I should probably do is just give him like an innate bonus to his vision perception. So what that means, if it's an innate bonus, it means that like you're not like you can overcap it, right? By so yeah, vision here. We're gonna give him a 2, which is quite a significant bonus in this game. We've got free ranks. It's not costing us points. I'm going to write that down. Let me check the rules here. My official rule book. Because I've actually got a trait, like a mutation that you can get, which does affect the eyes. So I might actually just be able to rip from what I've got here. Because I'm like, should this be a +4, perhaps? Traits, species and mutation traits. We've got bestial senses, innate +2 to perception. That's all perception. So yeah, considering this is a niche, it's just one type of perception. Here we are, keen vision. Yeah. Your maximum awareness is 1 higher for vision. Dude, I'm just going to copy and paste this, man. Your vision niche takes an innate bonus equal to 4, and you halve penalties to visual perception. Your maximum awareness is 1 higher for vision, bad condition. Some of these rules are kind of like possibly things I need to rework. I'm going to ignore all that, and it's just like, you know, it's a +4 to an 8 vision perception. And we're going to keep that in mind going forward. What am I doing? Why is that there? There we go. Okay. So I probably should have given myself this bonus before when I was looking around the facility, but that's done now. So going forward, we've got that +4. Let's close some of these. I've got too many things. All right. Sick. Let's just organize my notes. All right. So I'm figuring out all of this stuff because I do think it's going to be quite difficult to see them. And I do think he is going to exert on this check as well. Although, does that make fictional sense that he would be exerting for this long-term thing over the, you know, it's not really how it works. Because if you were exerting for like 2 hours, you'd be paying like, you know, fucking fatigue every second. But there's a rule in the book for this. It's not in the rules reference because it's kind of more of a nitty-gritty kind of rule. But I do have it. It's in my core rules, my core mechanics, fatigue, exhaustion, and exerting, time multipliers. If the task is longer than an hour, then it's like, you know, 4 times the fatigue costs. So if I wanted to exert like by 2, give a +2 to my rolls, I'm paying that every hour. And considering this person has arrived around 1 a.m., Magnus has been here, like, I think he would have been exerting from around like 10 a.m. That's like 3 hours. I don't think he's going to be doing that. I think he's just got to keep an eye out as best he can. Like, staying awake for hours and hours at a time, trying to like pay attention to things is not something you do where it's like, oh, I'm trying really hard. You just got to be lucky. That's how I interpret it anyway. If you're the GM, you can interpret it however you want. But I'm the GM. I decide the rules. So I'm going to set the difficulty at... It's quite difficult, I think. Eight. Yeah. 8 is the difficulty I am setting. 8 difficulty to notice. Magnus's perception. He's got wits 2. He's got perception 2. He's got vision 4. So it is 8 versus 8. I have equal odds of success on this roll. Let's see. Can't exert. All I can do is roll. For fuck's sake. Okay. All right. That's a -4. So my ultimate score is a 4, which is below the difficulty of 8. And it's 4 below, so it's just a basic failure, but it's a failure. Essentially what happens is this figure is outside of the force field, and I think the audience, we see this. Magnus does not. So as we see Magnus shake out his last smoke, and he's like, God damn it. While that's going on, the camera pans over. We drift outside the force field. And there's a figure. And they've got something that almost looks like a watering can. The tip of it they have put into the ground. I think they hold it out like a watering can, and the tip of it kind of extends into the ground. And we see this ominous looking meter on the display begin to drain as the contents of this device goes into the ground. And that's where we cut. Because when we come back, Kassira, Magnus wakes up with a start, hearing Kassira's voice. And she's like, oh my God, oh no, not again, no, not like this. And 4 more Buzdips are dead in the morning. And Magnus is kind of, adrenaline shoots. He realizes he fell asleep. And he doesn't know that he was actually awake when this happened. I'm going to put this back here after he runs out with cigarettes. Ends up falling asleep around 2 a.m. He wakes up and he feels an immediate pang of guilt, of failure. Because he likes this lady and he's got a lot riding on his success with this job. So in this moment, I'm going to have Magnus make a spirit check. Just see how he withstands the pressure of this, the mental and emotional stress. I think it's going to be like a 2 difficulty. It's not like he's got some emotional investment in the lives of the Buzdips. It's not like he knows Kassira really well. But everything I said before. So I'm putting it at a 2 difficulty. And he doesn't have any points in spirit or perseverance, so it's just going to be a 0 versus a 2. Doesn't make narrative sense for me to exert on this. I'm going to restore that fatigue before I look at this roll, because he did sleep. Let's put that back to 0. Okay, the roll is a +6. So that's good. We don't take any stress. We don't take any mental conditions that might afflict Magnus, such as guilt, which might then, affect his ability to focus and concentrate and just get on with his job as a star runner by putting those emotions aside. He does feel guilt. It's not that he doesn't feel the guilt. It's that he doesn't let it affect how he's going to do things, right? He doesn't let it overwhelm him. So I think Kassira kind of goes around and just like checks them. She's like kind of on the verge of tears because these Buzdips are like, she's like their mother in a way. They are her herd, And she's trying to like put on a brave face. She's got the whole beekeeper outfit back on now. It's like a large beekeeper suit that she wears when she's outside handling the Buzdips. But yeah, Magnus doesn't feel great about this. And he's more pissed off and more determined than ever to find out who's been doing this. And I think there, because I have been streaming, it's 5 o'clock now. I've been talking on here for a while. I think that's a good place to end this little session for today. But yeah, I think we end with that scene of the sun rising. Magnus feels guilt. I tend to take more extensive notes than this, but obviously I'm streaming, so I'm not going to be sitting here writing. But I might elaborate on this in my own time. But yeah, yeah. I think let's have a look at the chat. I've been focused on doing this. I didn't want to get too distracted. Here we go. We got a few people. Magnus feels. Yeah. The people who watched this, thank you for coming along. This is kind of something I've committed to myself, is that every week, every Sunday, I run a session of my system, Crossguard. In this case, I was so distracted making the video, editing, all that stuff, got away from me. So today, this weekend, I decided I'm just going to do a total improv session of my own little campaign, this campaign that I play solo, which is based off Ironsworn Starforged, that kind of world. My system is a system agnostic one, so it can handle this, it can handle lots of different genres and settings. And it's kind of just more fun for me to play. I think you can do a little bit more in this system. Like, I love Ironsworn Starforged, but I wanted to elaborate on it and add more, have more consequences, have the system run my own way in a lot of different little ways. So it's actually one of the reasons, actually the main reason I started building this system, but it has turned into a full-fledged, quite crunchy TTRPG system. It's kind of mid-weight, but yeah. So next Sunday, I will be running an open session. Anyone who's in the Discord, I'm going to be posting the advert for that session. Don't know what it's going to be yet. I'm going to work on that tomorrow or maybe tonight. But next weekend, I'm going to be a lot more prepared. I won't be talking about fucking Daggerheart next week. I'm done with Daggerheart. Thank you, Daggerheart, for the thoughts and the ideas. I'm going to be talking about Crossguard next week. And I will be putting up a video. I've got the script written already. I want to talk about like what Crossguard is, so that players from my one-shots, they can come and just watch that video for an introduction to the game and the mechanics. So I'm going to be talking about that on Monday, probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't know. And I'll be putting up another advert for the next session. That'll be up on, I'll probably put a post on YouTube actually, because now people are actually watching my YouTube. I'll probably put a post up on Reddit and various Discords. We'll see. We're going to see if we can recruit about 4 people for a one-shot next Sunday. And I don't know what it's going to be yet. When I make it, you will find out. But anyone who showed up, thank you for showing up and watching. It's been fun. I've been enjoying running this little session today. And I hope if you're watching this, and thank you so much to everyone who's showed up to the stream and commented, and all the people who've been commenting on the last 2 videos I posted. I haven't really had a chance to look at the last one. I saw one person had commented on it, but yeah, it's been super awesome, like just invigorating and vindicating to hear people have had the same issues with Daggerheart. And I hope to talk more about TTRPGs and TTRPG mechanics in the near future. But until such time as we meet again, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Greg out.